Hello, everybody. This is Andy Keller, and I'm here to talk to you today about why you would use tracks or loops or Ableton Live in a live worship situation. What are the advantages? Why would you put all of this effort and energy into it? So before you dive into all of these how-to videos, I first wanted to talk to you about why you would use it and why you would go through this effort. So jumping right in, one of the first things you'll see if you study kind of the way contemporary music is built and recorded today is that there are a lot of layers in instruments. So here is a site, multitracks.com. You can go and buy backing tracks or loops from this site or loopcommunity.com, but it gives you an example. This is the master track, so the recording of All Sons and Daughters, Your Glory, and I want you to listen to how many different instruments and layers are going on in this song.
Multitracks.com.
So that gives you an example. You see that there are 16 different tracks here with some of these vocals when you add all these things up. And so this is what we're used to hearing, is this sound where you have a lot of different instruments and tracks layered on top of each other, but they're all doing very simple things. And so, but the reality is that most praise teams do not have a dobro and two electric guitars and two pianos and an organ and a cello and all of these things to be able to play the song like you would hear it. So one of the reasons people use backing tracks is to be able to supplement the instruments that they don't have, or to let the people on stage play certain parts and then layer some of those other simple parts on top of it. So that makes it a fuller sound in live worship. It gives us more instruments, which is more like what we're used to hearing in contemporary worship. And that's what you'll see here. Is this is our backing track of Your Glory. We wrote these parts and we put in a cello. We put in some strings just as a pad in the background. We've got a piano part here. We've got a couple different swells. I'll let you hear that. Just really simple swells. And then when we get to the hymn, then we go to an organ. So you'll notice we don't have some of the more basic instruments like bass, drums, acoustic guitar, maybe a first electric guitar part, because we're going to be playing those things live with our people. So this is supplementing that. Another huge advantage that I didn't anticipate having when using Ableton Live is because you're playing with a track, you can use this cue track to have in your in-ears so that the whole team can follow along.
Intro 2, 3, 4.
So we have these little cues coming in so the band knows exactly where we're going and when. So what we found is that speeds up rehearsal an incredible amount because you don't have to explain the roadmap, have half the team not pay attention, the wheels fall off it halfway through, and then have to retell everyone the roadmap and those kinds of things. You just play as you go. You listen to the cue track, and you end up playing it right the first time usually. And that way, you're not practicing the song wrong or having to learn it a different way. So it has really sped up rehearsal time. Now, one of the disadvantages is that it does take a lot of work to put all of these things in to bring in the tracks, to line up the cues, and you have to be very on top of things administratively to know what order you want to do things in, what parts are you going to take out, what parts are you going to have. So that does take time, and in some ways you have less flexibility. You can be as flexible as you want with Ableton, but it just takes time to make changes once you've already kind of programmed some things in. So I hope this gives you an overview of what you can do with Ableton, how you can do that. There's been other times where it's been really good to have Ableton. We've had sick players in the morning not show up, and so rather than not having a bass guitar, for example, we've tracked it in, and that way the song doesn't suffer. But you would always prefer to have your live player. But if they're sick and don't show up, then you have a backup there. And another thing is if you have trouble getting all of your people to rehearsal at one time, having backing tracks lets you have more of a full sound while you're playing. So if you have to do a one-on-one rehearsal with someone who they're not able to come to your regularly scheduled rehearsal, you can play with it and they get more of a sense of how the song will sound in context and where their part sits. So those are some advantages and disadvantages. The big disadvantage is the time and energy and effort it takes. But if you're willing to put in some of that to learn how to be efficient within the program, I really think that it's worth some of the energy and effort that you're putting into it. All right, thanks. Check out our other videos in how to actually build some of these Ableton sets.